Yo guys, in today's video I'm going to show you my top 3 tips for making your kick drum sound clean. So tip number 1 is all about your setup. So as you can see in this project, I have my kick drum here playing every beat. And then I have my bass here, and then I have my sidechain here. And what you want to do is have all this set up before you do anything else, especially the sidechain. Now if you're a bit unsure on how to sidechain, on my Patreon there's some templates with sidechain already set up, so you can check that out, or you can figure it out and come back when you're done. So get your kick drum set up like this, get your sidechain set up, and then experiment with basses. And just don't have any other elements in, just these two, just the kick and the bass, and work with them and get them sounding good. And the sub as well. So if we listen, that kick sounds really good with this, but let's say I chose a different kick drum, so basically what you can do then is set the kick up, set the bass up, set the sidechain up, and then just cycle through kicks until you find one you like. So for example, that one's pretty cool. That one's a bit not sure on that one. So I think number 8 was the best out of these. And then if we play it with the rest of the instruments, sounds really good. So yeah, this is definitely my main tip, how to find your kick right at the start before you do anything else, before you do any post-processing on the kick drum as well. Make sure that sample is tip-top. The kicks I just used then are on my website. My second tip involves layering your kick drum. So this is my track Skanking Crew. If we just listen to it now, so in this track I have layered the kick drum with 2 different kicks. So a kick drum essentially has 3 parts: the lows, the mids and the highs. Normally you focus on the low to mid range for a kick drum, but sometimes you bring in the highs as well. So if we listen to each kick on their own, we've got the low to mids and then the mid to highs. If we listen to it without the highs, it sounds like this. Now that doesn't sound bad, but because the bass line is super low and there's not really anything else going on in the drop, I thought why not add a bit of highs to it as well. And it kind of just makes the track feel more complete. But this is going to be really dependent on what track you're making, so this isn't always necessary. You just got to experiment with the different sounds that you have. So let's look at the processing. On the first kick I've just got an EQ, cutting out anywhere from above here. And on the second kick I've got everything being cut out from below here. And that combined makes a really good sounding kick. But then if I went back to that other track that I just played before this in tip 1 and tried to use this kick on it, it would probably sound awful. So it really depends on the track you're working with. Slightly crazy, I know, but for the third tip I'm bringing out a PDF that I created. This is showing some of the EQing methods you can use on your track. So if we have a look here, my notes are saying basically Set the kick to -12 dB, and you can use either the volume or a plugin to do this. And then this is going to be the loudest part of your mix, so nothing else is going to go above 12 dB because the kick is always the loudest element. What we do in the high section is use these kind of spikes to take out any high unwanted frequencies. So you might see more of these along here when you go through it. And then around the 110, 120 mark, we want to increase the EQ, because that's where the fundamental of the kick drum plays, and that's where you get the best sound from it. And you can obviously experiment with this on the kick drum. And then we've just taken out some of the low ends, and I've got some notes here that you can have a read. And then compression, we're using Slate here, but you can use literally any compression you like if you feel the kick needs it. A lot of kicks you get from sample packs will already be compressed, so there's literally no need to do more compression. It's just going to make the kick sound worse. So be very stringent with this. But then again, you can look at my notes here and have a little read if you like. Now we've got some saturation plugins added. You can again use any saturation you like. Just go through all your saturation plugins and see which one sounds the best, tweak all the settings, things like that. And again, it's not always necessary to put saturation on it, because if you're using samples, the person who made the sample will have done that already. If you're making the instruments from scratch though, then this is definitely needed. And that is pretty much everything. You then sidechain it to the bass and experiment until something sounds good. You might be wondering, well, how do I know if it sounds good? My best advice is reference tracks. Find well-established producers, download their tracks, pop it in your FL Studio or your DAW of choice, and listen to how their kick sounds in the mix, especially with the bass. And then keep listening to tracks until you get an idea, and then you should be good to go when you do it in your own track. You should just be able to tell from the kick drum if it will fit or not, just by listening to it in the mix from tip number 1. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check out the links below. There's a freebie for you down there, as well as my website and Patreon and more. Catch you all in the next one. Take it easy.